Bill Gates said, I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. What's a real life example of this? I knew a guy who had a low level data/reporting job. He had several daily or weekly work responsibilities, including a bunch of reports that needed quite a bit of tweaking from raw data to finished product. But like I said, low level. We didn't find out until way later, but he had set up macros for each of his major responsibilities where he could. Once set up, he'd just run the macros to do his work, and then he'd smartly hold off on delivering the reports until just a little before the deadlines. He'd hit every assignment and was seen as reliable. He also would complain about the workload, so people would leave him with that work. I doubt he did a full hour of work a day after he set up what he did. Eventually, he left the job for one with better pay. But really, did he work lazy? Also, he was smart not to reveal until the end, because had he told them about it, he would have gotten a pat on the back and would have been given a whole other workload on top of maintaining those macros. The dude milked the job, not the other way around. Any good IT guy will find a way to automate his job so he can sit around browsing Reddit. I left my last sysadmin job, and the next guy called me and asked how I was doing the work of 3 people. He was going through the daily playbook and was so far behind. I asked him if he was going through the manual playbook or the automated playbook, as I had left both on my desk. Evidently, my former boss had taken the automated one to do the work in the interim and never told the new hire about it. My brother gave my oldest nephew $10 a week if he did all his chores without needing to be told or complaining. One day he gets home early from work and sees the neighbor kid tossing a bag in the trash. He asks him what he is doing, and the kid says he gets $5 a week to take care of a few chores. My nephew outsourced his chores. Outsourcing and child labor? This kid is destined to be a Nike CEO one day. I tried doing that as a kid and got a slap on the back of the head. It was just my dad and I. We both hated doing the dishes, so they would stockpile. It got to the point where he offered to pay me $20 just to do them. Before I got around to it, we went down the road to my aunt's. I ended up offering my cousin $10 if he would come over and do the dishes. He accepted. I wasn't allowed to do that again. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry, which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. The person originally doing this job spent a full 40 plus hours per week doing it, but was not very computer literate. When they retired, the company hired someone with actual skills. The new hire convinced management to let her work remotely after getting up to speed on the job. The first week at home was spent automating the entire job. The remainder of their multi-year tenure with the company was spent doing whatever they wanted, save the 10 to 15 minutes weekly to run their program and to answer the odd email here and there, all while getting paid full salary and benefits. They actually had to add in a few errors now and then to make it seem realistic. I've worked a few places that have people doing this. Usually when they retire, the job is given to some younger person that figures out how to do it in 10 minutes on top of the rest of their normal job. I worked goods in for an aircraft manufacturer as a summer job at university. Parts would arrive, we'd open them, and key in all the details into a terminal. That bit was long-winded. I discovered the terminal keyboard has assignable shortcuts and set up a bunch of them for all the boilerplate, such that keying in an item was about 6 keystrokes. I saved myself and my workmate hours every day, which we would spend pranking each other, other warehouse staff, and staff at other sites. Years ago, as a student, I got a job stocking shelves. Guys were carrying the heavy boxes, put them on the floor, and bend each time to pick up the items to put on the shelves. I was maybe a light 100-pound woman, and carrying the boxes was just killing me physically. So one day, I had an idea. I put the box on an old desk chair and rolled it around. No more carrying and no more bending. Funny thing is, instead of doing the same thing, most of the guys just called me lazy and kept carrying the heavy boxes, just to prove how strong they were. Now they have special rolling carts to do the job. Screw lazy, screw strong. I would have copied you without a second thought. Wow, that's ridiculous. A waist-high utility cart is like the #1 ergonomics requirement for moving anything at an indoor job site. Every year in the Canadian winter, power lines would fail due to the weight of the snow. It took many days to build up enough to break a line, so they employed a team to walk the routes and shake the poles to loosen the snow. One day they saw a bear shaking the poles and realized that if they could get the bear to do it, they wouldn't need to walk the route. So they gave one guy a bucket of honey, and he'd walk the route painting the sides of the poles with honey to attract the bears. It worked for a few more years, but this still takes a lot of time to do. So then they had the idea of flying a helicopter along the route with a trained sniper with honey paintballs that he'd shoot the poles with. On its maiden flight, the helicopter passed the lines and the downdraft blew away all the snow. The flights continue to this day, but without the sniper. I was invited to my friend's yearly apple picking. It was a full day of apples and kids and filling a truck for cider. I'm lazy and suggested we make the process more efficient with tarps on the ground. We managed in 2 hours what historically took all day. We didn't even get to the picnic lunch. Essentially, I ruined apple picking. I was delivering a pop-up bar to a fancy hotel, and they had a bunch of Japanese delegates staying for the event. One of the guys went up to his room about 2 a.m. and ran himself a bath. He fell asleep. When we came to pick up the bars, the roof over the reception was leaking, and the receptionist explained the story. They put out a bucket and cones, and every time we took stuff out to our van, it got worse and worse. I suggested they get a tarp under that thing to save time cleaning up when it all falls in. We even got to see the walk of shame when their bus arrived. I know someone with this skill because that's what it is. It can only be skill. I have to say it's extremely useful and convenient to have someone on hand that can be so clever. I don't think lazy is the right word for people like him though. Anyway, I hope to see you guys soon. If you like this video, please consider clicking like and subscribe. Bye!